Oh, thank you for the nice introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the event. So today I'm going to talk about the feasibility of a choice and sensory lab in UW River Falls. And with me, two of my colleagues, we are collaborating together to assess the feasibility of this study, Dr. Grace Lewis and Mohammed Hassan Mubarak. So before I jump into the question to the presentation, do you guys know what is a choice and sensory lab? Raise your hand. Okay, that makes my job a bit difficult, but I'll try to explain what is. So this is a setup where we test food in terms of its quality, taste, texture, smell, and all that. And why should we do that? Because we are in an industry, for instance, for the dairy products, we are developing tons of new product almost every year. And whether this product will be a success or not, how do you know that? Probably we have to go through that marketing testing, and sensory lab is the place where we can do the test and scientifically decide what is the outcome of this final product in terms of consumer preference and all other stuff. So definitely this lab uses human sensors, all those 5 sensors, to evaluate the new products that we are developing and figure out whether this would be a viable product to sell in the market. And the choice part of this lab is much more, I would say, invisible, because we don't need a physical space to do that, but we need setup to do those types of things. For instance, it is not only the product and how it tastes, what is its quality that matters. Oftentimes, how you are packing that products, is it convenient? How your design intrigues people to buy those things, that also matters. And in the choice side of the lab, we can also evaluate those things and help business to finalize their product and put in a shelf so that it attracts people's attention and consumer buy those stuffs. So that's the sensory part of these things. And typically this applies to food products, and that's pretty common. And if it doesn't taste good, smell good, consumer will reject that. This is just an illustration of that. So why does that matter for us? Why does this lab matter for us? So the first thing is that by this lab, we expect to support one of the 4 pillars of the DIH, which is growing farm business and community. How? In Wisconsin, we have 400 plus dairy processors and 1,800 plus food processors who probably complement each other in the business. And they are continuously developing food products. In one of the recent survey that shows that 50% of the food processors, they are trying to develop 1 to 5 products on yearly basis. And when they do that, they need this type of support from institutions, either for market, and if this is a university, this is a great place where we can collaborate and definitely have great outcomes. So that's where we see that this lab has potential to support our Wisconsin food industry, along with definitely dairy industry is our priority. And for the university side, we have more potentials, because if we have this lab, that can fill up a gap. What is this gap? We have a dairy processing unit in our campus, and where we do develop new products, probably try to develop new products in that lab. Students try to develop new products as a process of learning. You also have a meat processing plant here. However, there is a missing part. When we develop those new things, where do we test those things? And this is where this lab come into handy and support our student learning through a hands-on experience. So what is our project objective? We want to understand whether this lab is feasible. And what does that mean? Our key priority focus area is that if we have enough infrastructure in our campus to have this lab. This is the first thing that we'll assess. The second thing is that this lab will be definitely supporting our student learning experience, but to run this lab, there is money involved. And do we have enough industry collaboration so that we can keep flow of the money in the lab so that we can run this lab perennially. That's another thing that we'd like to assess. So we'll do industry assessment that if our industry has enough demand for this type of lab, if we have this here. And then that's related to the financial viability of this lab. And eventually, we also need to learn about the regulatory environment to have this lab. This is what we will also include in the feasibility assessment. And definitely, the last but not the least thing is that how this lab will actually contribute to our student learning. We'll also assess those channels and put those, because these are the benefits, and we also need to include those stuff in the assessment. And along with this study, we are also doing another thing. Our DIH-funded faculty buys different equipments to do their research for the DIH. However, these equipments, after their project, can sit idle there. And we are creating an avenue so that industry can also use those materials and equipments so that they can also get benefit from these DIH-funded equipments. So the current status of the project is ongoing. We started our work on July, and we have a timeline up to next year, June, to finish the project. We have started our stakeholder interviews, and I already developed a prototype of our industry survey, and we will be doing the pre-test pretty soon. And we are also scheduling site visits to learn more about the existing labs. And on the stakeholders engagement side, we want to learn from our stakeholders whether we have enough space, enough money to fund this project, and then what are the staffing needs that we need to fulfill to have this lab, then what are the facility requirements, academic integration process, and partnership potential with the industry. Those are the things that we are trying to figure out in this category. And on the industry demand side, I told about the industry survey that we are working on. So we are working with our survey research center that is housed in UW Falls to send this survey through the Wisconsin dairy and food processing industry to assess their demand for this lab. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There are labs already there. So we'll visit them and figure out different other things that are necessary to understand the feasibility of our lab. I don't have too much time, so I'll stop here. So the next thing is that we'll complete our stakeholders meeting by December 2025, and then launch the industry survey by January 2025. 26. We'll complete our site visit by February 2026. Sorry for the typo here. And we'll do the data analysis part by May. And finally, we'll present our report by June. And this is kind of the rough estimated thing. Thanks to the Dairy Innovation Hub for funding this project. We really appreciate your support. I'm out of time.
All good. Thank you.